Hello everyone and welcome to the next session of live coffee talks which are presented by Dom Daniel. My name is Julia and today I would like to introduce you to Azure OpenAI service. Moreover, I will help you to understand how you can adapt the OpenAI technology into your service and will focus on the text summarization feature. Microsoft has partnered with OpenAI to make AI models available for developers. Now let's identify how these AI models fit into the AI landscape. And let's start from artificial intelligence, which imitates a human behavior, relying on machines to learn and execute tasks. The next are machine learning models, which take in data like weather conditions, then feed the data to an algorithm to make predictions. Deep learning models use layers of algorithms in the form of artificial neural networks, and they are used for even more complex use cases. Azure AI services are built on these deep learning models. And finally, generative AI models, which are a subset of deep learning models, and Azure OpenAI is a collection of generative AI models to predict, to generate language, code, and images. So Azure AI services can be categorized into Azure Machine Learning Platform, Azure Cognitive Services, and Applied AI Services. So my today's focus is one of the cognitive services, Azure OpenAI service, but I would like to remind you, if you want to know more about cognitive services, my previous talk was about it, and you can find it in our pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. When to use a particular service highly depends on your needs, as there are several overlapping capabilities between cognitive services language service and Azure OpenAI service, such as keyword extraction, summarization, or translation. While there is no strict guidance when to use a particular service, for example, the existing language service can be used in more widely known use cases where minimal tuning is required, such as optimizing a model's performance. And on the other hand, the Azure OpenAI service can be used in cases where highly customized generative AI models are needed. Currently, access to OpenAI service is limited as part of Microsoft's commitment to use AI responsibly, which means that if you want to have access to the service, you should submit a registration form, both for the experimentation purposes and later for approval to use it in production. You can see the registration form link on the slide, as well as you can find it in the official documentation. Moreover, additional registration is required for users, for customers who want to use the content filters. And once granted access, you can use the service just by creating a resource on the Azure portal. As we have talked about responsible AI, let me show it to you as well. So when working with AI systems, it is important to consider ethical aspects, as teams and individuals work every day to identify the potential harm and mitigate it. So Microsoft, for these purposes, identifies 6 principles. The first one is the fairness, which ensures that all AI systems should treat all people fairly. Also, they should perform safely and reliably in order not to result risk to a human life. These AI systems should empower everyone and engage people, as well as they must be secure and respect data privacy, and people also must be accountable for how these AI services work, and these services in their turn must use explanations so that users can understand how they operate and are used. Now let's see what generative AI models we have with OpenAI. They can be categorized into 3 main families: GPT-3, Generative Pre-trained Transformer Model, Codex, and DALL-E, which I haven't included here. And I would like to mention that Azure OpenAI also supports the GPT-4 model, but again with a limited access. So if you want to use the service, use the model, you should submit a registration form again here. Now let's see what GPT-3 models we have, starting from ADA, which is the simplest and the most cost-effective of the 4 models. The next step up from ADA is Babbage. The next comes Curie, which is used for even more complex use cases, such as conversation generation, and the Da Vinci model, which is the most powerful and the most expensive of the 4 models. And this model is used for most complex natural language tasks, such as creative writing, poetry or fiction generation, and so on. So these are the top 4 capabilities where Azure OpenAI service can be used. Here you can see that AI again is democratized because it is not only available for data scientists through Azure Cloud, it is also available as API. So you can make a request to the API, in the end get a response back and incorporate into your applications. There are also tools which can help users to use these services without knowing any programming language. I will show you the playground during my demo. And I would like to mention that all these generative AI models about which we have talked are also integrated into the ChatGPT. So you can use the service with ChatGPT as well. Now, the first one is the content generation, and it can generate product descriptions, blog posts, articles, or responses for chatbots, copies for ads, landing pages, or blog posts. Also, it can help you with creative writing, such as screenplays, short stories, or poetry. And even it can help to generate personalized content based on users' interests or preferences. With regards to code generation, it can help you to autocomplete code or thus saving time and effort from developers. Also, it can generate code, refactor code snippets, thus improving and optimizing the code quality and performance. Code generation can also summarize code or translate from one programming language to another. Azure OpenAI also provides powerful semantic search capabilities to identify and find the relevant information more quickly and more easily. And at last, the summarization technique, which is the highlight of my talk today. And with summarization, you can summarize entire documents, news from different sources, and present them in a concise format. It uses a variety of techniques to make personalized summaries of content based on users' interests or preferences. For now, let's see how text summarization technique works behind the scenes. Text summarization is based on advanced natural language processing algorithms and machine learning techniques. It can use a variety of techniques to identify the key information in the text, such as natural language understanding, or it can use a named entity recognition to identify people, organizations, or locations in the text, or topic modeling to find the most important information in the text and present it in a proper format. Now, text summarization can be done through abstractive and extractive summarization. So what is extractive summarization? It selects the most important information or phrases from the text, and the abstractive summarization, on the other hand, generates new summaries, new sentences that will capture the essence of the original text. Now, text summarization can be used in a wide range of industries. We have talked about the news and social media, but also it can summarize financial reports, other business documents, or research articles, scientific papers, thus helping researchers to find the relevant information more quickly and stay up to date with the latest researches in their field. Also, summarization can help you with legal or medical documents, or we can just integrate into our virtual assistants to make personalized summaries of news, traffic, weather, etc. So with text summarization, we have both advantages and disadvantages. Among advantages are the time savings, because it is very time consuming to summarize large volumes of text-based data manually. And also it is highly scalable, which means it can handle large volumes of data, and customizable, which means that users can identify the level of details in their summaries. So among the limitations to consider are the difficulties in understanding the complex language, because it may fail to summarize the text which is highly technical, scientific, or contains complex sentence structures. So this is because the summarization technique has been trained on a large data set of general purpose text and is unable to understand the text which is in a specialized language. Now, among the limitations to consider are difficulties in distinguishing information which is important and information which is less relevant. or it may generate a misleading information summary, which will have a negative impact on individuals or groups. For now, let's see how summarization technique works behind the scenes. Here, it can be categorized into the following steps. The first one is the pre-processing, where the input text is tokenized into smaller chunks, such as words or subwords, and then they are converted into numerical representations. After all, these tokens are encoded, then passed through layers of transformer-based blocks, each of which with a self-attention mechanism, which is the first step here, and it allows the model to understand different relationships between words in the text. The next, the decoder portion of the model comes, which also passes through different layers of transformer blocks with self-attention mechanism. But here, the attention is focused on the encoded input and rather than the output. And after all, to generate a summary, the model uses a beam search algorithm. And what happens here? The model generates a probabilistic distribution to find the most possible sequence of words in the text, and it selects the most likely candidate. It continues to generate until it finds a satisfactory solution. And after all, this model uses length control mechanisms to be sure that the generated summary is of the desired length. So this was all how summarization technique works. Before jumping to the demo, let me talk about the Azure OpenAI pricing, which is on a pay-as-you-go model, so developers only pay for the API request. The API pricing is based on tokens, and tokens are words or can be just letters. For example, the word hamburger has 3 tokens, ham, bur, and ger, and a simple word such as Azure may be considered as a single token. Another consideration when talking about Azure OpenAI pricing is you are getting charged both from the prompt you are sending and for the predicted text. So there are several factors to consider when working with Azure OpenAI service. The first one is which model you are going to use, DaVinci, Curie, or both, and how many tokens you are going to use per day. Once knowing this, you can calculate your cost just using the Azure pricing calculator. For now, let's jump to our demo. And let me show you the Azure portal. So in order to use Azure OpenAI service, you need to have a valid subscription, valid Azure subscription, and approved OpenAI access. Now let me show it to you. If we create the create button here you can see that my subscription is invalid because this subscription does not have access to OpenAI. Let me choose another subscription, and here you can see that I am capable of creating a new resource just by identifying the resource group, region, name of the instance, and the pricing tier. For now, I will not create a resource, as here we are having a poor network connection, and the rest of the demo I will show you with the instance which I have already created. So now let me go to that instance. Let's choose it. Here it is. And here you can see all the necessary information about Azure OpenAI. Here you can see the keys and endpoint, which are necessary when making API requests, and the model deployments, which I have already deployed. From here, we can go to Azure OpenAI Studio to show you the playground. So let's until it will open. And here you can see examples, documentation from where you can get started. For now, let me choose the GPT-3 playground. And here you can see both the chat playground and GPT-3 playground, the different models, base models, with different capabilities and price points. And the deployments, which I have already created and I have shown you in the Azure portal. From here, we can create a new deployment. For now, let's select a model. Here you can see that already deployed models are inactive. For now, let's choose something from code. Let's select it, and we are here identifying also the model version, and there are some considerations about naming conventions, which depends on which feature and which model you are using, whether it is the code, text, and according to it, let's name our deployment model. As we have chosen the Code DaVinci model, let's name it Code DaVinci. Code DaVinci. And let's give it a version unique to us, 001. Let's hit the Create button and wait. So here you can see the deployment model, which we have just created. And by clicking on it, you can see all the relevant information about it. Who has created, who has last updated it, or even we can delete it if we don't need it. Now let me go back to our GPT-3 playground, and here you can see a lot of parameters where the temperature parameter is the most important one because it is responsible for the randomness. That is, if you want your text, generated text to be random or unrepeated, you must set the value of the temperature to 1, and for the opposite case, you can set it to 0. Here also the playground suggests us to view the code, which can give you a sample, simple sample to get started with. This code can be in Python, JSON, or curl. Also, there is a link which consists of my workspace and the deployment model. I would like to tell you that all these parameters are also available programmatically. And one more interesting fact about the playground is when you are choosing a model, and from here you are choosing the option, that is what you want to do. For example, let's choose the ADA model, which is the simplest one, and let's select summarize an article option. Here you can see that playground suggests us that this model is not appropriate for doing an abstractive summarization. Let's choose another model. So here, let's click to choose the DaVinci model, which is the most powerful one. For now, let me show you that with Playground, we have the options to do both abstractive and extractive summarization. Also, we have option to summarize issue resolution from conversations. So for demo purposes, I have differentiated text from different industries. So for now, let's choose this option and let's select our text, which is from customer support, and let's summarize it. Let's copy it and paste it here by identifying that we want to summarize the conversation, catching the problem and the possible outcome. So let's hit the generate button and wait. So here we can see that it was able to identify customer's problem, which was with delivery, and the possible outcome is that delivery will arrive today. I think this is great. Now let's choose another option. Let's do extractive summarization. You can see that this option is intended for financial reports, but my text is scientific. Since I want to do extractive summarization, let's remain with this option. Now let's copy our scientific text, which is about NASA. And paste it to our playground, asking the model to provide the key insights of the text. Now let's hit the generate button and wait. So here something interesting has happened because here you can see that the summarized text is presented step by step. So the first step is presenting us that NASA is developing Earth System Observatory. The next, it talks about the 5 areas of focus of the observatory, then the strategy of open source science, and after all, the purpose. It gives the purpose. What is the purpose? So what is interesting here, that the model was capable of analyzing the whole text extracting the key information and presenting it in a proper format. For now, let's choose abstractive summarization. Let's copy another text, which is medical text this time, and it is about diabetes. This text is much longer, so let's copy it and paste it here. So we are asking the model to generate a summary identifying types of diabetes, symptoms, health impact, and the treatment. Let's hit the generate button and wait to see what we will get. Here you can see that the model gives general summary what is diabetes. After all, it only gives a generic summary of what is diabetes, yes? Let's regenerate it to see whether it will be capable of summarizing what we need. So for this purpose, let's choose the chat playground. So let me show it to you. Which can be considered as ChatGPT integrated into the Azure portal. And one great thing about this chat playground is that it uses the new model, GPT Turbo model. So let's choose it. Here are the parameters, the GPT Turbo model. Let's check whether it works or not. Let's say hi to our chat. It is working. So let's paste our medical text to here and wait. Here you can see that it gives a general idea of what is diabetes. So then it identifies the different types of diabetes, what health impacts it can have, and here is the treatment. So you can see that the GPT playground was capable of identifying what we need, extracting the information which we provided, the questions which we provided. And at last, let's challenge our GPT-3 playground. And for this time, let's give it something from literature. So I would like to give it the famous quotes of Shakespeare's Hamlet, and we will see whether the playground will be able to understand Shakespearean English. So let's copy our famous quotes and paste it to the playground. Here it is. I'm telling the model to summarize the text and capture the main idea. Let's hit the generate button. So again, here you can see that it does not understand that it is from Shakespeare's Hamlet. Let's regenerate it once again and see what we will get. So let's try with the chat playground. Let's paste our famous quotes here and see what we will get. So the chat playground was capable of identifying that it is from Shakespeare's Hamlet, and the main idea is about Hamlet suffers from about death and life. So this was all for my demo. I would like to tell you that all these use cases are just simple ones, and as much as I work with these models, I can say that they are powerful enough. So this was all. I would like to thank you for joining me today. I hope this was useful and informative. If you have any questions, you can contact me via email or my LinkedIn account. So thank you and goodbye.